So I have a question. I have long believed that we are in fact deeply influenced by our early childhood experiences, and our views of the world are shaped by what we're taught as children by the people who are most influential in our lives, probably our parents or older siblings possibly. So I have a question. If anyone on the panel can answer better than I've ever been able to answer, there's someone I know who always insists that people don't change. You are who you are. So just accept people as they are and don't expect change. So I'm wondering up to what point people are susceptible to change, truly, if indeed our early experiences are so formative.
Some people are susceptible to change, and some aren't. You can say that about almost anything. So my bet is, although I don't know if anyone's ever done any experimentation, but sort of changing values or changing how long it takes for you to go from a neutral to a state of rage. We know that people vary individually. We don't really know much about the capability for change. I strongly suspect some people have much more capability than others. How much of that is given, is epigenetic, and how much of that is changeable throughout life? Amos Oz, in his recent autobiography, quoted his aunt, who said, "We all dealt a different hand. Some of us played a bad hand very well, and some of us play a good hand very badly." But what you didn't say is what determines how you play your hand. Do you determine that? Is it all over when you leave home to go to kindergarten? Probably not for most people, but perhaps for some.
Actually, I just would like to say something to that too. I want to just suggest another way of thinking about the issue, which is we often think of habits as sort of bad things, like smoking and spitting and scratching oneself in awkward places. But actually, habits are ways that we've attuned ourselves to the world we're in. And the habits change the world we're in. So if you follow the same path every day, you lay down a path in walking. And it becomes harder and harder not to follow the same path every day, because after all, the ground is smooth there. It becomes an attractor to you to follow that path. And that's true of us, that's true of water, that's true of deers in the forest. We follow the same paths, and it becomes harder and harder to step out of the path. Our cities, our concrete cities, have turned those paths into concrete. And you can no longer go this way because there's buildings, and you have to follow the paths. You have to follow the concrete habits of the world around us. We live in a world in which there are occasionally great political upheavals and traumas in which people's habits really are changed. They're sent from one continent to another. They lose their language, they lose the food they grew up with, they lose their job. They were an engineer, now they're an elevator operator. They were great storytellers, now they don't know the language. Right? That's traumatic. That's change. And actually, there's a lot of that kind of change going on.
I became extremely angry about 4 years ago because someone I had the greatest respect for wrote a book and gives lectures and said that free will is an illusion. It's not real. And I became extremely angry at this because, of course, that's wrong. And how could this brilliant person be so stupid? So I decided what I would do, and I use the term decided loosely, that I would prove to myself that free will exists. And the way I would do it is I would watch my motivations and I would check to see what just happened, see what the thoughts were, see what the motivations were. That was 4 years ago. And I started looking, and in 4 years, I have not found one single choice that I've ever made. And I was out to prove this guy wrong. So I ended up firmly believing that the idea of free will is a complete illusion. I never know what my next thought is going to be before I have it. I never know what my next feeling is going to be before I have it. They can't be predicted. predicted. I don't know how strong they're going to be, when they're going to show up, or how they're going to affect the totality of what I am in that moment with my other thoughts and feelings. Yet my thoughts and feelings seem to determine exactly what happens by their strength. So I'm convinced now that I'm completely run by the desires that arise in me because they always win out. I never go with the second desire, I go with the one at the top of the list. So I'd like your comments on that.